Morning, good evening, wherever you may be. I am Rockin' Larry Locken, your host with the most. Hey, how's everybody doing? I'm joined by my co-host Carolyn and Larry down in San Antonio, Texas. Of course, I'm up here on the Oregon coast where we had that big tsunami that never happened. Anyway, we never had it happen, and it won't ever happen. But everybody got freaked out, but we're fine. The only thing that happened was the air got a little calmer. But we're going to talk today about the pleasure police. We'll get into it when we can, but I'm going to defer right now to my co-host, the beautiful Carolyn Linear Roberts, and she's going to have some words of wisdom, and then we'll get into it.
Yes, beautiful. Hi, good morning, everybody. Well, good morning from where I am, and hello to everybody else. Yeah, so we're going to talk today about pleasure and pleasure police, and so we're going to bring in what he calls words of affirmation. It's a prayer to align everybody as they choose and allow, and to assist you in opening up and receiving anything in this podcast, anything at all that can serve you in your current moment of now and in your current experience, to bring you into more clarity and which ultimately brings you into more peace. Okay, so if you choose to participate, please close your eyes. Begin slowing down your breath. And becoming conscious of it. Allowing the out breath and in breath come more and more spaced apart. Slow down. Now I'm going to call in what my guides call the litany. Mother, Father, God, our higher selves, our I am, our guides and our ancestors, our star brothers and sisters and our star family, our angels, archangels and their divine counterparts, masters, ascended masters, and other Christed beings, Mother Gaia, Elohim, Dragon Collective, past, present, and future versions of ourselves, the Watchers, and any other Christed beings which will wish to add their light into this offering of grace and love for those participating in this and every now. The conversation today on the podcast is about pleasure and the pleasure police. And even the word pleasure connotes a particular focus for many in the collective. But the truth of pleasure is that it's about allowing in your highest light, your highest ability to be present in this now, to allow yourself to actually enjoy the moment and to be present and to bring your presence into the moment to gift others with who and what you truly are. Now is the time when those chains are coming down. It's not happening in a pleasant way necessarily, but it can. But it is happening so that all souls are freed to be the true expression of grace that they are walking on this earth, actually conscious of the conversations that are happening in the seen and the unseen, taking deliberate participation, walking with discernment in their grace and their truth and their beauty, bringing that forward, which only illuminates all others as they align with their truth. This podcast is offered to help all souls called to it to address those chains that they have on themselves that maybe nobody else but themselves know exist, and to support them in releasing these chains which hold back their truth, their beauty, and their grace, to see what they truly are, divine being, holy light. May this serve your magnificent heart. Thank you and blessing. Beautiful soul.
Amen. Amen. Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah. Well, you know what? Well, just to get right into it, when this subject came up, I think I had like an aha moment, and you did too. And it's like, okay, we need to cover this, right? When we were
Right.
talking about subjects, this is something I've thought about for a long time, and I don't use that pleasure police phrase coyly, but it seems like there's always been this control mechanism among humanity of limiting or judging people for wanting to feel good about themselves, right? Whether it's sex, whether it's food, whether it's drugs, whether it's alcohol, whether it's a favorite TV show you have, whatever you're into, it seems like, okay, well, there's always this, well, don't have too much fun. Don't have too, don't. And you said something really interesting to me that I've been stuck on since we had that talk a few days ago about
Yeah.
how when we limit our pleasure, we limit our creativity, we limit our
Yeah.
dreaming. We limit our defiance to be put in a box is actually how you put it to me.
Right.
And I really have been hung up on that because it's true. I've been pissed off about it my whole life, but I haven't looked at it from the fact angle of it really limits our creativity, right? When we're
Right.
not allowed to really be who we are, and especially like with our bodies. I mean, our bodies are our bodies, and yet we're so ashamed of them, and we're so ashamed that we're supposed, that we like anything that would make that body happy, whether it's whatever I just mentioned. You know what I mean? Isn't it just really an
Right.
interesting conundrum? And then we got into the angle of why that is, right? Why that is the control, right? And we got into, of
Yeah.
course, we always go back to that control mechanism or that control feature. And it's like, but then again, Carolyn, then I got to thinking, I hadn't mentioned this to you. I got to thinking, why then, if that's the case, right? Why has everybody just gone along with it like sheep and just thought, oh, that's the way it's supposed to be. That's the way it's going to go. I feel like somewhere along the way, uh, more people than have should have stepped up and said, hey, what in the fuck what in the heck is the deal here?
So I'm hearing and I'm feeling, and I almost want to cry, because what I'm feeling is that over eons of time, we were beaten down for expressing that truth. I mean, one level you could say as witches or whatever burned at the stake, right? Others you could
Yeah, big
say as
time.
those that were not, and I say this as truth of what happened, that were not Christian, were like, burned, were like hunted, were those that were not, or you could speak from the perspective that, um, what was the thing? I think I told you about this when I was talking to you about it. Um, my guide said this, and it was like so powerful, because they were talking about the bullshit that was shoved down our throat in school about manifest destiny and about that being bubble, but this wonderful thing. And my guides, I heard so clear within me the bullshit of the ages, and it's like, these all these things, they were justified, and it was all tailored, and again, if nobody's ever seen it, um warlocks, okay, if nobody's ever seen it, they understand that when I'm speaking about stuff, um I'm not really pointing fingers, because to me, anytime you point fingers, they point right back to you, because you are
Yeah.
the sovereign being in your own personal reality. I'm not taking away responsibility from others. I'm saying that all of it starts within you. So understand that when we're talking about these things happening, these are things that our ancestors experienced, that our ancestors did, because truly we are our ancestors. And so it's like now we're in the time where I'm hearing things will be brought right.
Hmm.
Um, the truth will be known. And so when we're talking about pleasure and the pleasure principle, that was a way to control us, just as you said. It was about fear and survival, and it was needed necessary at one level because of where we were at that level of consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
We were at a lower level of consciousness and we were not aware of our light. However, you could also say we weren't aware of our light because of those things that were done in the
Mm-hmm.
time before then, right? In the submission, in the subversive practices that were done before then to cut us off from our light. Um, it's this laden, even the word, I feel it within me, pleasure. When you say that, it's like this, it's only now this
Yeah.
lifetime, and it's only now in my feeling in the last 25 years when that word isn't directly connected to sexual acts of
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
whatever,
Mm-hmm.
and why in the, that's just my thoughts. Why in the fuck does that matter anyways? But this is
Yeah.
this is my thing is
Yeah,
that,
really. That's
pleasure.
another point. Yeah, that's a whole other point right there. But go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah. So pleasure, my thoughts are pleasure. Pleasure is it's like, okay, what did I write down? Because I was in that flow with you earlier. Pleasure is ultimately about self-sovereignty, because you don't know
Beautiful.
how to love yourself, what to bring yourself, what you like, what you don't like. And yeah, you can take it and all put it in the box of sex, and certainly that's very significant because it's how you interact with you, it's how you interact with others in that space. But it goes way beyond that. It's the place where you get to know what you are and who you are and what matters to
Mm-hmm.
you. And we've come to this other podcast, but it's the place where you own your stuff, you own your choices, you
Yeah.
respect your choices, and if you make a different choice, that's beautiful, but you take responsibility for it, not from the place of blaming self, but from the place of understanding, if you didn't like that choice, then make another one. And I'm hearing within me, no matter the size of the choice, um
Literally.
pleasure is connected to self-worth, which is a really big one for me, for my energy, for who I am and my
Mm-hmm.
ancestry. Self-worth is one of those words that, and one of those energies that's now kind of coming into play. Oh wow, there's something to that. That's
Mm-hmm.
because to me it's been it's it's down there, it's in that place where we have been submitted, is what I'm hearing, and
Mm-hmm.
where our will has been submitted. And you can look at that in layers. If you look at it from the 3D dualistic perspective, you can be like, well, this group did this to this group and this group did this to this group. But you have to
Absolutely.
understand as well that we are all one. We truly are. And I'm not justifying anything that happened, but we are all one. And where
Absolutely.
one was subjugated and the one subjugated the other, the one that was subjugating the other was also subjugated by the belief system that they thought that
Mm-hmm.
that thing was right. And so there
Mm-hmm.
really is, in my personal, in my feeling, in my gut of who I am, it's not, the answer isn't about pointing fingers, because they
Mm-hmm.
truly do point all back to you. It's about
Yeah. At the end of
getting
the day,
yourself,
sure.
it's getting yourself out of that box, the
Mm-hmm.
box of not allowing yourself to do things. And yes, there is a place where there has to be personal integrity. Certainly that's part of the conversation. It's vital.
Absolutely.
But it's also about like joy and letting out your inner fire, your what lights you up, because even in these energies now, which can be like exhausting and wear you down and everything,
Right.
when you're connected to that thing within you that lights you up, it doesn't matter what's happening external to you. You are lit. That is about child. That's
Good
about
Lord.
allowing yourself pleasure.
Yeah.
Pleasure, which can be sexual, certainly, but it can also
Absolutely.
be eating that ice cream. It can be,
Yeah. There you
you
go.
know, walking barefoot outside. It can be, loving your children, loving your husband, loving your partner.
Right.
It can be petting your animals. It can be, um, the gift is these bodies. We are these energy in these bodies, and so it really is a gift to experience through them. Larry.
Yeah, yeah, it is. And even that guilt is so ingrained on us. You mentioned having like an ice cream bar or something. Even when it's mine and I'm going to get it, and I'm good, I still feel that little bit of, oh wow, I'm doing something a little bit naughty. I don't. It's not really a full consciousness thought, but it's like, okay, I'm looking at like, okay, I still have that inner thought of, okay, I'm making myself happy. Boy, I'm doing something racy here. You talk about the integrity part of it, right? About maintaining the integrity through it. I wonder, but
Right.
there's still the joy and the fun of it. I wonder why our first thoughts are, instead of the joy and the fun of it, a lot of times it's that guilt, right? It is that guilt of the
Right.
integrity. I mean, they're both needed, but before the integrity, we're always thinking about that integrity part of it in like a guilt way, like, oh my God, what's gonna happen? But then you mentioned self-worth. I wanted to touch on that. That's another one of them
Right.
catchphrases we talk about all the time, like the golden rule,
Right.
right? Now we're
Right.
getting full of that feeling of the self-worth, right? And I hear
Yes.
what you're saying about the word pleasure. You hear that word when we're coming up, and especially, well, until really recently, but even now, you think of it in sexual connotations, right? Like and then flip that like something's really bad with sex or something like that, right? And
Right.
and there it is. We shouldn't blame it. It does start with us because we are all one. We can only do what we can do individually, right? And
Right.
so, but yeah, I was just throwing that question out there about wondering why and I think you answered it, why it carried on so long as far as the guilt factor of, when every generation would do certain things and then the next one do something like it, like, oh my God, but we did the same thing, but it's the next generation is more conscious than you are. So why are you bagging on them for something you did when they're doing it out of more consciousness than you did? But I guess if they understood that in the first place, we wouldn't, be having the issue really.
There
So,
there is no, and at some point you come to this place where you understand there really is no separation. There really is
mm,
no, those actions that you do just within yourself between you and God really do affect your external. Those thoughts that you hold about those particular group of people, or that, they really do go out there and they really do project and then they come back. They really do affect your personal reality. And we're at that time now where people are beginning to get edges of this, beginning to get inklings of this and this, and they're and it's coming in, and I'm seeing
yeah.
like I'm seeing a visual, some kind of weird visual. It's like an oval, maybe that's our field, I don't know. And then I'm seeing
Hmm.
little, maybe you could say raindrops, but they're like pellets of light, but they're not pushing hard. They're just coming against like a person's own chosen bubble or walls or something is what I'm seeing. And it's
Okay.
happening really, it's slowly, but it's consistently happening. And it's not going to let up. That's the thing. Those walls that souls have got around themselves about protection, which I respect, deeply respect. But it's also the place where protection is very important and very significant.
Absolutely.
Yes, obviously, yes. But there's a point where you can be in so much self-protection that you cut off your ability to have pleasure. You cut off your
So
ability to love. You cut off your ability to
big time.
feel and to allow. And that is basically, in my opinion, like a form of self-torture. It's your own
Oh
personal little
God. Oh,
hell,
you bet. You can
you
see it
know?
too. Can't you see it in people you're describing? I mean, we've all known people like that, not to get into them, but can't you just see it? They're torturing themselves.
They really are. And then, I've got a person, a floaty McBoat. I see this, don't touch the children. Yes, I understand that. And the
Oh
reason
yeah.
this
Good.
beautiful soul is saying that is because these truths have come out in the last, what, 20, 25 years.
Yeah.
But the truth is all groups of all levels have been affected, and children are obviously sovereign, but there's also animals, there's also this, there's also this, there's also this. It's like everybody, the the respect goes to all groups regardless of how they appear. um
Yeah.
because even those that have done, I'm going to be blunt, horrific acts or things like that. What drives a person to do that in the first place? What
Right.
condition in their family, in their life, in their home, in their neighborhood have caused them to be that? You know, compassion isn't this isolated thing that's just between
Right.
you and this treasured
We don't
person that
dig
you
into it
love,
enough. Yeah.
you know?
We don't dig into it enough. What you said there. We don't dig enough. We think it, but then a lot of people are like, well, they look at what they did. It doesn't justify what they did. No, it doesn't justify what they did, but what's the reasoning for it? So we can
Yeah,
start talking about these issues more and start looking into
right.
noticing these traits earlier on in human beings, and then just fixing society as a whole, so these things get more limited. So those horrific acts that they committed, that person is a part of you. You are a part of that person. We're all
Right.
involved in a quantum entanglement together as one. So, we talk, even the people that really are open to it, they talk about it a little bit, but they don't really they don't dive into, let's really fix this issue. You know what I mean? Let's really work on, as a society, fixing these things, which there are a multitude of them. We understand that. But I mean, it's just like people want to make other people pay, and I don't know why, if that's something they're mad within themselves or what it is, But yeah, and I think we're moving away from that finally, and it's good to see,
Yeah.
because we need to start understanding. And you look at the worst among us, the worst and the best among us are you.
Right.
Right.
Right. And when you talk about that need to make people pay, that's a place within a soul that is, it's like unmet anger, and
Yeah.
they're wanting something to shift, but they're not
Yep.
understanding that that shift is not going to come from external stuff. It has to happen within them. That
Yeah.
shift that they
Absolutely.
want to happen, they want that this person can't get away with this. This isn't right. They need to be
Yep.
punished. All this
Yep.
other stuff. And the other
Yep.
thing I'm going to say is that there's two different types of bringing in. Actually, there's many, but I'm getting this within me. Like, maybe the word is justice. I want that person to be punished, or the other one is that I want them to learn why that isn't right, why that isn't for themselves, right? Because when you punish somebody, the intent of punishment isn't to discipline somebody, because discipline is connected to teaching. When you
Yeah.
punish somebody,
I don't
it's
like that
about
word.
exerting
Yeah.
your will. It's
Yep.
about
Period.
control. It's about pain. It's about bringing
It's
harm
sick,
to
really.
another. And it
Yeah.
can, and the mind, and you can justify, well, they did this and this and this.
Oh yeah.
I
Well,
understand that. I understand that. I'm not denying that, but I'm saying there's a point where you're going to reach within yourself when you're really in a place of opening up to self, and you're in a place where your inner child is engaged in that conversation. So there's a softness, and there's a compassion within you that is lit, not just for you, but for your entire world. And you begin to shift how you see all of those things. Wow, why would that person make that choice? That's really horrible what they did, but
Hmm.
what would also cause a person to do that? And you
Hmm.
want that, you want, despite what that person's done, because you realize that you are not that separate from that person. You know you would not do those things, but would you? Like, when you've reached that point within yourself where you've done that inner work, then you connected with your darkness. The
Hmm.
darkness within that person is no different than the darkness within you.
Hmm.
It's just how much have you explored it, not
Yeah.
to practice it in your world, but to understand that we all have light and we have dark within us. All of us are capable of all of that. What keeps the boundaries, what keeps the balance in check, I offer, is loving self, giving self space to exist in your own reality. This podcast is about pleasure and pleasure police. Pleasure is that place where you give yourself and you allow yourself, and I'm hearing more importantly, your physical body, energetic being, to experience things that bring you joy or
Hmm.
softness or expand you or make you grateful, or these are all kind of the same thing. And that happens because you've done this work, or you're doing this work, and you're realizing, you know, I have done these things, I have said these things, they did these things, they said these things. And you come to a place where you're no longer in these hard walls within yourself. Those walls that you have on others outside are because you have walls within self, against self. This is what I offer. So when you begin to work on those walls, and you begin to realize that no matter what happened, no matter if you did something horrific or something horrific happened to you, you
Yeah.
still deserve pleasure. You'd still deserve
Yeah.
love. You still
Yes.
deserve all of these things. And it's all part of it together,
It's
Larry.
deep. It's really deep. It's really, really deep, because we have a tendency to, we love an individual really when things are good going on for them, but when they're, something happens, we have a tendency to, well, how could they do that? Why would they do that? And then it goes back to that inner work you're talking about. I mean, it takes really some deep thought to understand that, okay, well, what is it within me that has a problem with that? And that's not saying, I'm not trying to say give your energy over to that kind of behavior or get sucked and drawn into that, right? But it doesn't mean you have to get like an elitist attitude about you and think that, okay, well, then, just to hell with that person. They
Right.
did this, so they're no longer in my purview. It's really a lot of this you have to understand is hard for me to understand because I've never in this lifetime, I'm sure others, right? But in this lifetime, I've never felt that way as far as people go. You know what I mean? I understand. I've always understood that whatever they do, it's something within them, right? I'm not important enough to where it was something that they just specifically that I changed them or that I made them completely 180 in that mode, right? So,
Okay.
or that I even had, that I was even responsible for it. So
Yeah.
I've always realized that, right? And I think the point of this podcast is to try to, if we could just plant a seed for somebody to understand that, there's other people out here that love and care unconditionally, right? And it
Yes.
doesn't mean when you take your space from somebody a little bit, it doesn't mean that it's necessarily bad anything against them. It could be work that you're doing. And so yeah, I think you hit on everything that I was thinking about for this show. So it's like, yeah,
Sorry, I
you
was
just
just
covered it
pouring
all.
through.
Yeah. Hey, you just covered the whole thing. But yeah, I have so much to say, and it's like now that all of a sudden I'm kind of at a brain cramp because we can't. My thing is that I need to work on right for me, and I'll self-admittedly admit this is working on that kind of little frustration I have with people that are like that and were like that, right? That I've seen
Yeah.
in the past. And most of this stuff is not stuff that has happened to me personally, right? This is stuff
Right.
that I've seen and observed, and a lot of that too is not even people that I really have known in person. A few, but not a lot of it. Most of it is things that I've seen from afar or heard about from afar or heard about, vicariously through people, right? That I know. But so I don't it's frustrating to me that we want to limit people's pleasure like that. No, don't do that. But we have this innateness within us, whether it's drugs, food, sex, whatever it may be, gambling, right? Those are not. We're not saying that these are productive behaviors or anything. Well, the sex, but like gambling or drugs are not necessarily productive behaviors. But people are just looking for some relief. They're just
Yeah.
looking for some relief and they're just looking for something to have a little bit of fun with, to explore that side of them, because a lot of times they've been bogged down their whole life and shut down from, exploring anything, certain things. You better not do that. You could get it. This could happen. That could happen. The sky could fall. So they look for things that they can kind of sneak away and do to get pleasure, right? We're human beings at the end of the day, and we're going to want that. And if we keep fighting, we're just going to make ourselves miserable. And like you touched on earlier, we're going to just keep torturing ourselves. You know what I'm saying?
Mhm. Right. It's
Word.
I was getting something a minute ago when you were talking about it. I was trying to write it down. But it was basically the it's like what I'm getting is like the shutdown on pleasure was definitely about control.
Yeah.
And it has opened up. It's opening up more. But I still feel like when I say the word, I can feel this energy connected to it, and it needs to go. It needs to go. It needs to be
Hmm.
whatever the word is, reimagined. Maybe there's the right word for it, right? Um, because there was so much manipulation of it in like the Piscean age, and it was used in its dark intent, dark side, dark, just as like
Yeah.
everything has a light and dark. It was used in the dark. It was, um, but it has a light side to it, and it's when you connect to that, when you allow it for yourself, no matter the degree, right? You don't you like coffee, you don't buy yourself those sugary coffees. You buy yourself a sugary coffee once. You don't get hooked on them, but you're just like, yeah, I really enjoyed
Yeah.
this, or
Yeah.
You know,
or you buy a shitload of them. Yeah, you get hooked on them, right? But
you
what
get,
it
yeah, I
isn't,
mean, you
right?
know, you have to keep it balanced, but, and,
Yep.
you know, maybe that's another thing about pleasure is that because we've been so much caged that when somebody lets themselves out of that cage, their limits, it's more difficult for them to find those limits.
Yep.
And but you have to, you can't exist in that cage. I mean, we aren't meant to exist on that cage. We are each children of God. We are beings of light, and we actually have something very vital to bring here. We wouldn't. Nobody's here by accident.
No.
And it's like when you let yourself out of that cage and feel you feel that pain, that anger, that sadness, and you feel it and you let yourself begin to feel it, and you don't even have to point fingers at it's because of this and this and this and this. That's really, at one level you could say you need to do that. I would say ultimately you don't. As you begin to allow that, I'm hearing letting out steam, um you will notice your thoughts about things begin to shift because you don't have that caught up energy, which is redirected, you know, as anger or was or fury or sadness or pointing to this and this and this external to you, and you'll begin to feel these shifts. You will, um, but you have to. I'm almost seeing somebody pull the like a bait. What do you call it thing? Why is my brain going blank? A basketball, and you
The
pull the air
basketball,
thing
yeah.
out, right? And you're letting out that,
Right.
letting off that the air, letting that out, and it's slowly deflating. And it's like all of this angst that is held within. I would say every soul is what I'm getting. That is the frustration. That is the anger. That is the sadness. That is the disappointment. And this, I'm hearing and feeling, this goes back not just them, but this is like an energy stamp that came through from their parents, and they got it from their parents, and it's ancestral. And it's like
Yeah. Right.
it it doesn't mean that that energy can't be used for a higher creation. It just means that instead of that fury, that anger, that frustration, you can take it and you can flip it, because anger is an awesome tool for motivation for getting things done. And you take it
Mm-hmm.
and you alchemize it for that, rather than pointing fingers, because the truth is when you point fingers at others, you're giving away that power, you're giving away that energy, you're pointing to them, and it's yours to alchemize, to use into something positive and constructive for your personal reality. um Larry.
Yeah, what I was thinking was is I'm trying to adjust the, for our different platforms. By the way, hello to Instagram, hello to TikTok on audio, and hello to Facebook Live. Okay, we're not on X today or Twitch. We had some technical difficulties. Yes, hello, hello, hello. Carolyn did a wave for those of you on audio. It was beautiful. If you would have seen it, it was just marvelous. It's
There's a
better
wave.
than the things.
It's a wave.
Yeah,
I'm waving. Okay, there you
yeah,
go.
yeah, yeah. So another thing that we had talked about kind of when we were hashing this over was the fact that, okay, well, we brought into the fact of our particular society on this planet, the American society, right? And how we are with this stuff. Okay, well, everything is
Right.
like a double standard here. On one hand, when you're growing up, like take just sex for instance, when you're on, oh my God, don't have it till you're married. You'll grow hair on your palms if you masturbate. Don't do that. Good people don't do that. But at
Right.
the same time, then on the flip side of that, though, oh, but here's this magazine behind the counter. Oh, here's this secret stash of Playboy magazines the dad or somebody, your uncle,
Right.
whoever had. Oh, look at these, man. Look at this movie, look at that. But oh my God, don't do it. Oh, but so it's like that with everything. We're this walking contradiction, right? Do as I do, or do
Yeah.
as I say, not as I do. Whereas you take somebody like Scandinavia in the past, I mean, and their sex rate among teenagers blows ours out of the water here, right? But they had 10% of the pregnancy rate that we did because they're open to it. And I'm not
Wow.
talking about everybody having orgies at their house. That's only on the movies. They don't really do that over there, folks. They're just open minded and discuss this kind of stuff, right? And what they'd rather have, a lot of them would rather have some young couple have a place where they could do that instead of go doing it in a car somewhere, right? And breed that wanting to do it to defy the parents to go
Right.
against what they say, right? And the same thing, we put the same kind of taboo on And I'm not advocating, please believe me, I'm not advocating for any young people to use drugs or alcohol, or for any parents to advocate for that either. But on the other hand, what you tell them how bad it is, how dangerous it is, blah 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 blah. But then a lot of parents that say that, they smoke a little weed, or they have a little drink on the weekend, or they do a little blow on the weekend, right? And so it just becomes this thing where instead of talking open and honestly, you just want, they just want to get rid of the problem, get rid of the issue with a one liner. But I noticed that in the United States, I've always figured it, but since meeting all these people, doing what I've done over the last 15 years from overseas, different places, different cultures, you get a vibe. And I found out, well, it was pretty much like I thought it was. I was right. So it must have been something innately in me that I figured as a young child, all the way till, I met somebody from another country, which a lot of Americans don't ever do.
Yeah.
So it really is strange here. We live in kind of an interesting walking dichotomy here. It's everything, yeah, it's everything you wanted, and it's everything you never wanted, all in one. Um,
Right.
and so that's always kind of that thing where it's so ingrained with us. But it's granted, it's a worldwide problem, Carolyn. We know this. I mean, there's some countries that are really harsh and just barbaric. And that word "punish" you used earlier, I can't stand that word. I've
Mm-hmm.
never used that word as anything productive. That word is nothing. There's nothing productive
Yep.
about that word whatsoever,
Yep.
except for getting that
Yep.
satisfaction within you
Yes.
that you have a deficiency for even wanting that satisfaction. And I'm not talking, please, people. I'm not talking about in those moments after somebody hurt one of your kids or hurt one of your family members. Dude, totally justifiable. But I'm talking about somebody you don't even know. Somebody, months later after this shit's happened to you, you want that person to pay, right? And I
Right.
can understand that when it's a personal assault on you, on your body, and things of that nature. I get that, right? But that's a kind of another point, though, to make people pay. But we have a tendency to carry that on to make anybody pay that you even hear it about. You don't know if they're guilty. You don't know if it's made up. You don't know really anything about it. It's just that you heard that, right? And then you
Right.
want the most extreme worst thing to happen to that person, and you don't even know that it's true. There's a lot of or innocent people that have been screwed over by that kind of mentality. And that's really, what we got to get past. We can't do anything about the past, but we need to make sure that when we make our decisions, that we know as much as we possibly can, and how it's going to affect everything 5 minutes from now, 5 hours from now, 5 days from now, 5 weeks, years, months, whatever from now.
Right.
We need to think about these things, right? Especially when
Yes.
your decision is going to affect another human being who, yes, they are
Right.
part of you too. We're all one. We are all our own twin flame. It's not some individual person you're looking for. Okay, so that's the thing. We need to make sure that we really think about those things through when it could possibly affect any other soul, period. You get what I'm
Right.
saying? You can feel my flow
Yes.
there?
Right. Right. And I keep feeling within me that so many souls have been held back from their truth for
Mm-hmm.
many different reasons. I mean, if we're talking about the US, you can talk about, and I'm not going to get into the, I'm just talking about the energetic framework that exists here.
Mm-hmm.
And that existed here for maybe since its creation.
I'd say
Um,
so, probably.
yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure my ancestors would say, uh-huh. that
Wasn't that long ago, girl, because it wasn't that long ago in the
It
span of
wasn't that
time.
long ago.
It was
No,
nothing.
and it's the manipulation is the only thing I'm getting. I'm also getting something right now about
Mhm.
people holding on to the way things have been in many ways because they're not seeing the way it's going to be in the future. They're not seeing I mean, I know they're seeing shifts. That's obvious. You can see those shifts.
Right.
Some
Oh, yeah.
some are positive, some are not. Yes, but it's like I feel like they're not seeing the way it's going to be in the future because it's not the way it is now. The way it is
It never
now,
is. Yeah.
it's not. It's it's just not happening. It's not carrying forward because it's brought us to this place, and we are at this place collectively because, um, and I've said this in their podcast that I received that we're here. We went through the Piscean age. We're now entering the Aquarian age, and we actually are entering the Aquarian age and are not, we are disengaging from those thought patterns and practices of the Piscean age, because we have explored all that could be explored at that level of consciousness. We've been there, we've done that.
Absolutely.
And I've said this before too, which is that level of consciousness, that mentality saw compassion as unnecessary.
Weak is the word I'm getting. Weak. Yeah, weak.
Weak. It wasn't even, it was not even a thought. Their choices were made, and these were unconscious choices. Maybe some were conscious by some rare beings here, but most were unconscious. That this choice being made that has no compassion, maybe this isn't, maybe this really is an awful thing to do. Maybe this isn't kind. Maybe this really will have horrible repercussions, and I'm seeing
Yeah.
people being
Yeah.
affected by that. Now I saw the earth that flashed in my head just now. And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
and we're doing this podcast on pleasure. And I offer that the shift to compassion, to that conversation, to basically shifting from seeing your whole reality from your logical space, from your mind, and not living in the heart, is the place where we did not engage with compassion, is what I'm hearing. And now, as we're moving into that full conversation of the heart, which is the conversation between the sacred mind, sacred heart, in the body vehicle, the voice of our soul. We're moving into this conscious place, like it or not.
Yep.
That means that I'm hearing within me, we take responsibility for our pleasure, which
Yeah.
it's like,
And have
yeah,
more of it.
you take
Yeah.
responsibility for your pleasure. You take
Mm-hmm.
responsibility for what lights you up, and you go towards that, especially in times that are like overbearing, that are just too much, that you just can't take more, no matter the
Right.
reason. Yeah, you give yourself that. Or when
Yeah.
you've had a really heavy day and you're just like, I'm seeing somebody eat some ice cream, or you
Oh,
come
God
home and
forbid.
you want to make love to your partner, and it's going to take you to that place. And
Hopefully.
there's nothing wrong with any of that. And it's got this bad rap, because my feeling within me is, I was getting it a little while ago. I offer this in the Piscean age, and this is how I qualify everything. This is how I receive it. Um, I'm getting something like, we were seen as heathens. We were seen as godless. We were seen as needing this grounding within ourselves. We were seen
Yeah.
as we didn't have light within us, or we didn't have,
Uh,
and that was that energy, that was that age, that was what was supported from many
yep.
different structures. But what I offer is
Mhm.
I'm seeing like a human in like a maze, and we went through
Yeah.
the maze that was the Piscean age, and
Uh,
those energies and all of that exerted on us, and we explored that from that place. But we, as humanity, we are actually, I mean, there's many different levels. You could say we are God in form, or God is within us, however you want to see that, or we are divine light, or we are embodied beings of light. Any way you want to come at that, but
yep.
understand that we can start right back, and to me, in many ways, we are right back to the beginning, right back to the beginning.
Yep. Yeah.
Not what happened before, because that's done and that's over. And although it keeps replaying, and some people will say, well, that's happening, what I offer, you could
Yeah.
take or choose, pick apart anything you want. We each live in our own personal realities. Whether you want to say that's because you don't think the same things I think, you haven't gone through the same experiences I have, you don't live in this body, you don't live in this city, or you want to be like, you don't have the same soul I have, you don't have the
Right.
same ancestry I have, anything you want to say. But understand that you, as a person, can make the choice, and it's not easy, but it's presented to you either by choosing it or by it happening to you, that you are reset within yourself so that these, I'm hearing personal dogmas within myself
Yeah.
are, they're released, or I'm even seeing somebody clutching to one because that's all they know, and they're being forced to release it to begin again. And when you begin again, one of those elements that's part of your beginning again is pleasure, is allowing yourself
Absolutely.
that space to actually enjoy living on earth. It's not about
Hmm.
kicking your ass to pay those bills. And I'm not saying that isn't an element. I'm saying it's about, despite that mentality, despite that, you are grateful. And I'm not saying that from a place of I'm hearing like old Christian values or something in my head. I'm saying that because you are gifted this day, you are gifted this moment, you are this beautiful being of light, and those changes you want to make in your world, you can actually make within you. And then you offer it as a gift. You are the
Yeah.
gift to
Right.
others in your reality because you make that shift within yourself. Um, I hope that makes sense, Larry.
Yeah, no, it really does make a lot of sense. You talk about resetting. Okay, it's almost like if I give a quick analogy, like it's okay, you've mastered algebra, you're done with algebra 2, you're going on to trigonometry, or at least that's the way it went when I was going to school.
Right,
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 you're starting over. You still have some of those old the things that you learned from trigonometry or from algebra might help you with trigonometry a little bit. Okay, so you've got the fundamentals of one down to start over new, but really you're starting anew, right? You're starting a complete new with taking what you've learned and moving forward, but understanding you're in a whole new ball game, right? Or you've started a
right,
new series. You're done with one series you're watching on TV, right? And you've started a new one. So it's like it is a new beginning right we're in right now.
right,
We're starting over. We're just now, the way I look at it too is you mentioned starting over in the Aquarian age. We really are
right,
starting completely fresh, right? It's like
right.
we're now at that place where we're going to start learning how to actually live instead of how to die. Does that make sense? Yeah, we're
Yes.
learning how to live now instead of die,
Yes.
right? We're learning how to live
Yes.
instead of
Yes.
just
Yes.
prepare for death. Yeah, because yeah. Well, the number one cure for they're the number one cause of death. They finally figured it out was birth. But yeah, yeah, yeah. So it's one of them things where we're learning over, and you can take what's worked for you, but we all are intertwined. You can get off on that thing where okay, you don't have the same soul, you don't have the same ancestry, you're not where I'm from, you're not this, you're not that, but all those situations where we're all from the different ancestral groups, right? Well, they all come from one source. You know what I
Yes.
mean? They all come from one source that
Yes.
branched off, came from a source that had been branched off, and so on and so on and so forth until the end of time, which there is no end of time or beginning. But you know what I mean? Forever and a day, as the saying goes, right?
Right. Right.
It's,
And I'm looking at okay, so my let's see. Hard to focus on joy when so much hate is bombarding us. How do we overcome the
it's
constant
true.
hate and fear being spread by those in power? So here's what I offer you. You if you've listened to this podcast, then you're connecting with or you're understanding what I'm offering is that your reality and all of our realities begin within us, begin within you, begin within what you focus on, what you put your energy into. This is what my guides have given me, and I've said this in other podcasts. Anybody listening, I'm just going to have to voice this out, I guess, but they showed me the analogy of the eyes in terms of manifesting the things that you want and desire to
Yeah.
expand in your own reality, you are looking at straight with your eyes. But that doesn't mean that your eyes don't have things that are in the periphery. Those things in the periphery, those are the things that you choose not to give your full attention to. They still exist because there is light and there is dark. They still exist, but you don't give your full focus to them because your full focus, your full energy, your full attention, and I offer all that exists is this present moment. So whatever you give your full attention to, you are giving a tremendous amount of power to. That's what you put your energy into, that full focus and what you don't want to build, to expand in your reality.
Hmm.
Those things that bombard you, you're saying here and here and here, put them back on you and take them and put them over here. Threat,
Yeah.
and I'm hearing something now. I'm hearing something about threat now. Threat. So here's what I offer about fear. We are human beings. We all feel fear. But fear is a very subjective experience. I'm not saying that there aren't situations where any soul would feel fear. Absolutely. But you get to direct how you are affected by that. You can take that fear, just like you can take that anger and that frustration and that sadness, and you can change change its potency, change its focus, make that fear and use it as a catalyst for what you want to change within yourself, for what is intolerable within yourself, for what you desire to be, to move into that space, to become that. That's your biggest, that's every soul's biggest tool, biggest one. The actions of the doing, I honor because that's part of existence. But there is also the action of the being, the presence, the energy, the holding of that energy, which I offer is even more profound than the doing, because everything as I receive is first held. It's like a gestational space in the being space. So if you allow yourself, as you begin to make those shifts, and these aren't rapid shifts, this is a shifting of, because I'm hearing my younger sister in my head about using examples, Larry. So the shift from seeing, from all these
Yeah, yeah.
things external to you, bombarding you, to beginning to pull your energy back into yourself, would be the shift of, this thing happens, you watch this news report, and instead of moving into a place of fear within yourself, like it shakes your whole being, you get quiet. You get quiet. You put on maybe some peaceful music, or music that is of the frequencies of 532, of 528, 432.
432 is a good one. Yeah,
Yeah,
432 is a good
any one
one.
of those, and you allow yourself to calm down, which calms down your nervous system and what you send out. And then from that place, you allow yourself to look back, and I'm getting this energy of not necessarily going back to that podcast or broadcast or whatever, but you, within yourself, you look at yourself and you see yourself as you're watching that news, whatever that is, or seeing that thing happen. And in that moment, you're sending yourself compassion. You're sending yourself compassion. And if you choose, this is up to you, you could send those people that are doing those things compassion too, because it's not an isolated conversation. And so, as you begin to consciously, I'm hearing, refocus yourself, refocus your reactions, taking them from reactions to actions, to not being at the whim of whatever this thing is that happened over here. Not saying that you couldn't be affected by it, but saying that your ability to take conscious choice within yourself will tremendously affect how you are receiving what's happening to you, and frankly, over time, will begin to really affect your external world. It's a small shift that you do, where you pull back your energy. That thing happened, you pull it back, put it back within you. Take a couple of deep breaths, get quiet within yourself, give yourself 5 minutes. You deserve at least 5 minutes of peace. Come back and
More
decide
though.
how you want to be in that space. And what happens is that these become habits of grace. This thing happens. And the more that you do this, you begin to understand that compassion is not an energy that's meant just for you, or just for the select through few. I offer, and I've said this in other podcasts, he says compassion is love in motion. It's love in action. To me, it's the same thing. But it's like,
Yeah, yeah.
it's an element of love. And love is not an isolated conversation. It doesn't just go to this one person and not this person, and these type of people and not these people. It goes to
Yep.
everybody. It
Thank
goes to
you.
everybody. And this is something that, the more that you begin to make conscious choice in your own reality, the more that you realize that this conversation of love, of this responsibility, of this taking back your power, isn't just you. Everybody is in this space where they're just like, How do I change this? How do I pull this back? I don't want to be reacting this way anymore. I'm tired of this roller coaster. I don't want to be on this
Yeah.
anymore. And what I
Yeah.
just offered is how you do it, bit by bit by bit.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a process and it's not easy for some people. There are these external situations around us really can mess with us. You know
Very
what I
much.
mean? So
Very much.
so it's easy. We're not sitting there. It's not easy. It's easier for some people to say yes on an external level, right? It's how do you avoid it when you got so much negativity hitting you all the
Yeah.
time? And it's not just the negativity, it's the low consciousness levels that are draining too around you.
Right.
That are more than the negativity. It's just the yeah, like with the new, like with this supposed tsunami that was going to hit Oregon and Washington. And I live on the Oregon coast, people, as far west as you can get on the continental U.S. Where, and actually, literally, if you look at a U.S. map, I'm that far out. Oregon has a little indentation that goes out further. So I'm like 2 miles from, a mile and a half from the furthest point you could get on the West Coast. And so the news was on. I saw 2 seconds of that. It's going to hit Oregon and Washington, right? But there's a shift going on right now. So, and this is all part of this ties back into what we're talking about as far as things changing, right? There's a resonance shift within us, and that now that we're in the Aquarian age, we're more focused on how to, preventative instead of reactive, right? Prevention instead of reaction.
Right.
Yeah, response instead of reaction, right? So it's like that, and you've got a good point there with okay, you can't just direct that love at these people when you're talking about people and groups. You can't just focus it on that one that makes you feel good. The love needs to go for everything, and it doesn't mean
Yeah.
you go, oh, I love you so very much, I love you, love you, love you, love you, right? You know what I mean? Hug, hug, kiss, kiss, yes, tisk,
Mushy,
tisk,
mushy,
tisk,
mushy,
tisk.
mushy.
Right, but it's a thought, right? It's a thought that should just be something done unconsciously, but consciously having
Right.
this feeling.
Right.
Yeah,
Right.
don't you think?
It's
I mean,
it's
yeah,
yeah, and then I'm looking at okay, so I can change my
no,
internal, but that doesn't see how it changed the external. So
no,
this is
yeah,
a place where the point right here, what I'm feeling, Larry, you see, I can change. There's a comment that says I can change my external in that way, but I don't see how that changes no, I can change my internal that way. I don't see how that changes the external. So
good
what
point.
I'm feeling within me is you have to test that. You have to allow yourself to take up space in your own reality. The other thing I'm getting is you're watching this podcast and you ask yourself, and we don't need to know, but you ask you, why are you watching it? Are you watching it because we're two clowns sitting up here talking about a bunch of bullshit? Or are you watching it because you were called to it within yourself, something within you peaked and you were curious and you're following that line of energy? And so I offer to you, if it is that one, then that's the place where you have faith that you're being guided accurately. And certainly this is a personal choice, or that you trust in yourself that you are leading you well.
Right.
And I've said in other podcasts, faith and trust to me are the same line of energy. They're just two ends of the same line of energy. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, some from okay, some
that's why
from
you have
column
the
A, some from
psychology degree.
yeah, fine. It's social work, but yeah. The it's you have to figure more than anything. You have to test this out in your own reality. You have to. Yeah, I'm this person on this podcast. Hi, I'm Carolyn. I'm this person on this podcast. You have to test it out for yourself.
Right.
You have to try that, just like I said, the thing comes on the news or whatever and it bugs you, it pisses you off, you can't believe this shit's still happening, blah 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 blah, and you start this whole line of trite conversation within yourself is what I'm hearing. Pull away from that, pull away from that, pull away from that string, pull away from that trigger, go to a quiet place, give yourself some time and space, reconnect with yourself separate from whatever that event is, and connect with you and have a conversation with you Because
Yeah.
this is that pivotal moment where you decide, do I want to change my reality? Do I want to change? Do I think I want things different? Because if you want
Right.
things different, or you want to change your reality, or any one of those things, that's going to come from you changing. You change. You change for you. You change
Yes.
for you. You make things the way you want them for you, which means that you put you as a priority. And what I say is, when you put you as a priority, that doesn't mean that you exclude others. They're still just as important. In fact, when you actually really start to love yourself, which includes acceptance, which includes honesty with self, which includes disciplining self, when you really start to do that, that includes everybody automatically. Because as I said before, love is not, it's not an isolated conversation. It includes everybody. You work on you, and then you
Yeah.
have, and then you bring to you, and you fuel you. And then when you have enough, more than enough for self, it spills over, and you automatically give it to others. Automatically. It
Yeah.
doesn't, it doesn't want to be contained, because you're joyful, you're happy, you're appreciative within yourself, and you want to share it with others. And you might be blown away what others that is, because when you're giving that to yourself and you're letting down those walls within yourself, well, then you're letting down the walls external too, because that's a place where you're beginning to trust yourself. You're beginning to have
Yeah.
faith that God, the divine higher self, is actually looking out for you. And I'm also getting within me old stories, getting that you are willing to release old stories, old events. Not that they didn't have validity, because they brought you to this point, but
Hmm.
there's a point where you have to release those, because you understand that it's easy to want to identify yourself through these events and these things that happened, and they do deserve respect and they do deserve honor, but they aren't what you are. They are things that happen to you, but
Hmm.
you are the being that was present through all of it, separate from whatever it was. And you are now the being who is, I'm hearing, choosing again, resetting, letting go of the old, which is not easy. It's not, because the old is so comfortable. The old is familiar. The new is
Hmm.
kind of, it can be kind of scary, or whatever. And now I'm getting, that's why pleasure is important, because of pleasure it comforts you, and you can feel pleasure in trying new experiences, trying new
Hmm.
things, stretching outside of
Exciting. Yeah.
your comfort zone, and you can feel pleasure in doing those things. But it's a risk. You do have to allow that risk of, but what about this, but what about this?
Right.
That's part
That's
about life. That's part of life, right? That's part of life. But you're not going to grow unless you choose that risk, and you choose to see, could there be more?
Well, you
Um,
see, I'm still where the person just posted. I was able to read the question while running everything else.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
See, I'm still where they're at about, should we not push back against the people that are making this happen to us? And so, man, that's a hard one to, I
yeah.
don't know if I'm mature enough personally yet to give any advice on that, because that's where I still am at kind of too with it. You know what I mean? About
It's
pushing back on people that are making that happen to you, that have brought it to you and are continue to bring it to you. Should you not push back? I look at it this way. Sometimes it's not productive to push back. It's really hard to resist not to, though, right?
yeah.
And sometimes it gets hard to bite your tongue after a while. But yeah, so I'm not qualified, Carolyn. I'll admit that on air, to answer that question honestly, without being a hypocrite.
I having been in a place where I definitely wanted to push back for a long time for what I
Hmm.
dealt with, and I had to learn for myself, and this is a personal journey for every soul, that the pushback is understandable. To speak your piece, to speak your truth, yes, and it does go away. But what happens is, the more that you are able to expand yourself, and the more that you are able to move out of that emotional trigger space of whatever that was, and I truly have been there. Um, the
Uh-huh.
more that you will understand that if you can release that, and this is again very personal, very subjective, but this has been my experience. As I began to release that need for revenge, is what I'm hearing within me, as I began to really release that and really just slowly begin to accept things, and these can be any degree of things that are horrible or horrific or despicable or whatever,
Right.
and you begin to slowly accept those. And acceptance, I don't know why I need to qualify this again, but I'm feeling I need to qualify acceptance. Acceptance does not mean that you want or even desire what happened. It just means you're looking at it eyes forward, straight
Yeah.
looking at it. Yes, that's what happened. Yes, that's what I did. That's what they said.
Right.
That's what happened. So as you begin to look clearly with acceptance at what happened, and you are beginning to see your pattern of, wow, every time I'm feeling this energy where I want revenge, where I want something to happen because of this, and I'm not
Mm.
saying that's not wrong. That's a personal soul's prerogative, is what I'm hearing. But if you choose, as you begin to release that, if this resonates, you will notice that your heart will begin to shift. Because
Mm-hmm.
as you hold on to that need, I'm hearing the need for retribution very clearly. As you hold on to that need for retribution, it weighs down your heart. If you truly want a lighter heart, you have to come to this place of faith, of releasing judgment on your part and allowing divine events to take place. That said, I'm also getting, this is from my soul. Not
Yeah.
everybody is where I am. I'm a very oh, I don't know, whatever I am, but there's other souls, they want the
Intuitive.
retribution, they want the punishment, they want the, I
Yeah.
respect that. I respect that, but I will tell you, as long as you hold on to those energies, you will not have a light heart. You won't. You
Well,
That's
that's
the place,
yeah.
that's a, it's not an easy shift, but I'm just telling you,
Yeah.
that's the, yes. Wait, hold
Oh,
on.
I would. Yeah, I'd agree. I'd agree with that. But and you that doesn't mean be a doormat either. I mean, you can still
Not at
stand up
all.
for yourself. Yeah, not at all. And I think you can do that more
Absolutely.
when you're into these when you get into the mode that you're talking about. I think that will just come natural to you to have that ability to just
Right.
stand up for yourself, right, and
Because it's the same.
quell in the
Yes,
moment.
thank you, Larry. Yeah, because you get like, so I'm qualifying the ability to have a light heart with also the ability to hold your own power. Power.
Hmm.
So I've said this in other podcasts. Power to me, there's two levels of power. There's our small ego will. Perception of will is experience received. There's our small ego will. But when we align in our heart more, when we walk in our truth more, in our own integrity, when we honor ourselves, then you move from the place of your will either merging or surrendering to divine will, perception of will as experience received. That power, and to me, that's the energy behind love, is that real power. That's the one that motivates you. That's the one that won't put up with bullshit. It's not that you are demanding justice from a place where you think it's not going to come. You know
Hmm.
it's going to come, but the way that your mind sees it happening is not necessarily the way that the divine brings it. And that
Absolutely.
you have the ability to trust in your ability to hold hold your stability, is what I'm hearing, hold your balance, and have faith that the divine is going to bring through real justice, which is not
Yeah,
necessarily
sometimes it's more than you would
man's
have wanted
justice.
too. Yeah, so sometimes it's more than you would have even wanted too. Like it's not
Right.
what you're expecting. And sometimes, and that's you. So, sometimes you have to, what's the old saying? You have to be careful what you wish for. Man, I've seen it
Right,
come back with people that I would have never even wanted that bad. I mean, come on, So the
right.
divine has their way, right? And so maybe you were on to something where there's other things that they're going to be held accountable for too. So you see this big thing happen to them, right? And you're like, gee, I didn't want it that much to happen to
Yeah,
them.
yeah,
But it can sometimes, and it does. And yeah, you can get past that place of wanting. Maybe you're just in a place already that where all you want is people to just back off a bit, man, and just, hey, don't drag me into your shit, right? And
right,
but you don't want to get revenge necessarily. You just want them to stop, and that
right.
comes with coming to this kind of a peace where you've stood up for yourself, okay, and you've made that barrier, or not a barrier. I hate using that word barrier, but you put up those boundaries. I guess would be what I would call it, right? I really don't even like that word, but it's comfortable to use.
Yeah,
You put up those boundaries, right, with people, and so that are like that as much as you possibly can, and you can do a lot in your mind. It doesn't always have to be a physical move, right?
right.
You can do a lot in your mind, and it takes some time. It takes some really focusing on thinking about this, right? Um, but you just want them to just knock it off, basically, right? And those are things that are controllable, and how easy they're controllable sometimes does depend on what physical environment we happen to live in,
Right.
so
Absolutely.
there's that too. Yeah.
It does. And then energetic. I'm getting pointing to self energetic
Hmm.
environment. Um what is that? What is that? Okay,
Or the
hold
answer
on.
to the question. Yeah. By the way, TikTok, for the viewers on TikTok, if you want, I see somebody people have an invite next to their name. I'm going to hit it. If you want to come in and ask Carolyn and Larry, or Carolyn and Larry, Carolyn and myself a question, you
We would love
definitely
that.
can. We'd love it.
We
I,
would
I
love
should have put that feature on this particular thing for YouTube, but TikTok here, if you have an invite next to your name, I want to do it. If you don't want to come in, don't. But some people have this invite next to their name, and I still don't have the TikTok thing quite figured out, but I'm
Okay,
getting there,
so
trying to be slow.
I'm gonna read this thing, Larry.
So,
Because okay, so same viewer, floaty McBoat. Okay, what about the macro level? If I can find peace, then the world around me falls to shit. What does that really change? If only a matter of time, if the evil crushes me. But if I get my peace and I'm sitting here happy, then I see that everything else is covered. Everything else is covered in shit. Is that selfish? Okay, wait, hold on. It's a lot of questions. Okay, forgive my peace. Sitting here happy. Da 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 da. Okay, so when you actually connect with your peace, that is a place of empowerment of self.
yep,
And when you have learned what empowerment is for you, then you'll understand that it's not something you can create for others. You can
right,
offer it to others. You can be that. You can be the example of that, but you can't create for others and you can't make others happy. It doesn't matter if it's your husband and they're not happy. You can't make them happy, and that sucks, but it's the truth. But you can invite them into higher, I'm hearing invite them into higher frequencies within me, by your being of being sovereign within yourself, which means that you consciously and deliberately hold your frequency. You do have strong discernment between you and external events or people or energies or conditions, and yet there's still permeability because you are still affected. You allow it into your heart to a degree. And again, discernment is your heart's ability to discern what is and what isn't of love. Um, and when you're in that place of peace, I offer, you are wanting that for anybody and everybody. And so one of the thoughts you have within you is, can I help them come to peace? What can I do? And you'll see that your presence will have its effect as that soul allows. And the way that you see things externally also shifts as you're asking me this question. It shifts. So the thing to understand, and again, you have to practice this. You have to push the limit within yourself when you make those internal changes. And when I'm saying this isn't that doesn't happen overnight. It takes time. It's integration.
Mm-hmm.
It's changes. It's releasing. The way I always see it is you're unpeeling an onion layer by layer. And even after you've done some work and that time that thing happened or that thing that triggers you whatever, and you're coming around this spiral and it comes right around and you're looking at it again, but you've done inner work, that means
Mm-hmm.
that thing, that event, that time, whatever, doesn't trigger you the same. You're kind of like, wow, I thought I did my work. I thought this was over. No, the truth is it's never over. But you look at it differently every time. And the more that you give yourself space, I'm hearing space to exist, the more that you allow yourself to expand in your own reality, which is about
Right.
pleasure, the more that you're going to see that event, that experience, that thing very differently until you actually can look at it from like an eagle's view, and you're looking at it above. You're not on the same level. You can see all the interactions that happen between you and
Mm-hmm.
them, or that thing that happened. You've already looked around every event, every choice on your part and their part, to the point where you're just like, you come to this place where you're just like, wow, it couldn't have happened any differently. I wanted it to happen differently. I really wanted to happen differently. I would have done everything possible, but it
Yeah.
couldn't have, because
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't be where I am now. I wouldn't know this
Mm-hmm.
stuff. I wouldn't be at this place of this aha, of this clarity.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mean it's easy. There's tears, there's sadness because you want it to be different, but it happened. It happened. You were there. Those things happened. And that's part of life, and that's part of ascension, honestly, because
Yeah.
you begin to see where you're responsible, you begin to see where they were responsible, and it's not from a place of blaming self or even blaming them. But there's two people, and it takes two people or more to create this dynamic. And the more that you allow that peace, which brings in that pleasure and other things, the more that you can pull away from that more and more. And yes,
Mm-hmm.
it does affect your external, because by that point, you are a force in your own personal reality and in your world. But it does take time. It doesn't happen overnight. And it happens by you giving yourself space and you allowing yourself
Mm-hmm.
to feel things. And pleasure is the pleasant, happy, beautiful side of those experiences, of those feelings. But maybe you need to allow yourself to feel the pain, to feel the sadness. I'm hearing to feel the agony, to feel the frustration, because it's just like I said at the beginning of the podcast. It's like you're taking a basketball and you're letting the air out. And the more that you allow yourself to feel these things over time, and maybe it's just with you, but maybe you need to see a professional, maybe you need to talk to a friend many times,
Mm-hmm.
the sting is not there as much. And it
Mm-hmm.
really does begin to shift you. It really does. Because as you are holding those energies, those emotions, which are they're normal, they're part of life, they're part of living. But you understand over time that those emotions hold so much space within you that could
Mm-hmm.
be for other creations of grace is what I'm hearing. But you can't, that's the next step after you've dealt with that stuff from every perspective that you can. And
Yeah.
then you can take that energy and put it into other things. Larry?
Yeah, and they say, that old saying, time heals all wounds. Well, that's true. It does take time, but when you do the inner work like that, you can speed that up a little bit. Everything you do
Right,
helps, right? Whether it's talking to a friend, whether it's that work you're doing, the thoughts, the meditation, even seeing somebody, and hey, look, there's no shame about getting advice from an intuitive life coach or somebody like that. Carolyn's great. I only know about 3 or 4 others I'd recommend besides her, but the, there's no shame in it, right? There's no shame in talking
right,
to a professional. Whatever you need to do or feel you need to do, it's something that is worthy of exploring because it came into your thought pattern.
right,
And over time, this stuff does get easier to deal with. It doesn't mean you can change that person. The one thing you can do from a 3D standpoint, you can take from that what you wouldn't do, right? You can take that from how you wouldn't treat other people, or how you wouldn't infringe on somebody's space like that, or how you wouldn't do that to your kids, or how you can you can take that as a lesson on what you could do different, that if you're ever in their position, right, that you would do different. These are things that
Right.
you can all take, and all these things are irrelevant. It's an ongoing process. It's about an ascension level. Then comes into that play where you're dealing with people that are not on your ascension level, right? I don't want to say below. Nobody's below anybody, but if the shoe fits. um you realize, you come to a point too, when you get to where Carolyn's talking about, where you realize that they just don't they really don't understand on an overall basis, right? They haven't got to that level yet, maybe, and they're still, I don't know, somewhere there's some forces still hopefully helping them work on it. But yeah, you just can't, you realize that it's not your fault. And I think that's the main thing. It's not your fault. Don't you think,
Yeah.
Carolyn?
Yeah, no, I was looking at the da, 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 da. So the thing I'm gonna say to this soul veteran immigrant U.S. citizen, but more than half of the country I'm proud to serve hates me for existing. This is hard. Okay,
Yeah,
I understand that.
me too.
I respect that deeply. The thing that's triggering me from my experience with my beloved, um, because Larry knows about this too. He deals with extreme pain in his body, um, and I've worked with veterans through a nonprofit I used to work for. Well, not work for, but volunteer for, doing energy work along with a lot of others, called Vet Trip, and they were awesome. And one thing I'm getting very clearly, you take it or leave it, is the pain in your body. Physical pain can can be very difficult to handle because
Terrible.
it takes you to another frequency. It's like looking at
Mm-hmm.
life through a tunnel.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and if
Can't
you
focus on
are,
anything else. Yep.
yes, if you are in extreme physical pain, you have to get that addressed because that is limiting your ability to perceive your reality, your world.
Big
Um,
time.
there were many times when I would work on vets. We would work. It's all vets. This is Vet Trip. We work on vets. It's nonprofit, and it would be different energy work on vets. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I would do Reiki and Qigong, and the couple times I saw it, and it was pretty mind blowing, honestly, where a vet that, and there's a very high success rate. A vet that was in excruciating pain, they would call it 6 or 7 pain level, when in reality it was like a 12, a 13. It
Yeah,
was off
usually
the
people
charts.
lie. That's funny, Caroline. I'm going to stop here for a second and I'll let you go on. But usually people bullshit about that pain scale. It's a joke I have with a lot of nurses. I know people go in on a
Yeah,
cell phone and say they're at a 10. Oh, I'm at a 10. Yeah, if you're at a 10, you're going to be incapacitated to talk. If that scale was set
right.
at 10. But I get what you're
And
saying. Go ahead.
these were like, yeah, and these were like vets that like lived in these, and this was my observation, lived in these tunnels of existence, and
Yeah.
were angry, and were pissed off, and and I understand that, and I respect that. And they would go, and they would go to, and they would lay on the massage tables, and they would be worked on basically with qigong and reiki and acupuncture and a lot of different things. And over time, because this was like once a month, over time, as their body began to accept these energies, and um, they were in a less pain, until their body began to recognize what it meant to be at peace, what it meant energetically, what it meant to be
Uh,
not in pain, or not in excruciating pain, or not in pain so much that it directs your whole reality. They began to like be reborn, is what I would say. That's what I would see. They would be like child. They would be happy. They would be smiling. They would be more open. And this was because they had existed, and many of them, for 10 years, 12 years, 7 years, 8 years in excruciating pain. And and for some reason you're okay. You're reminding me of that this would happen, and that I'm saying, if your body is in pain, then that is definitely affecting you. He's saying his
Yep.
soul is under constant attack. Um, there is a lot of energy moving around right now. If your soul is under constant attack, well, there's dark and there's light. My thoughts are, go outside into nature. I'm hearing raw nature right now. Um, and let those energies move into your body. Sitting, if you're at an ocean, go sit and listen to the waves for a while and let that energy permeate your soul, is what I'm hearing. If you're in a forest, go sit under the trees and allow the dampness of the energy to move into you. Allow yourself to hear the birds, allow yourself to feel the winds.
Elementals, yeah.
All of it. This is me, and I've said this other podcast. To me, all of the mother, the earth, um, the water, the wind, the sky, the animals, the insects, the land, all of it is unconditional love, and always
Yep.
has been. And
Elementals, yep.
all of it. And she has always invited us into our divinity. She has always held her divinity. She has always known she is. And we have always been invited into it. That's why when you go outside and you sit in nature for any period of time, you feel peace. Because at
Yeah.
your core, at all of our core, we are unconditional love. And so she just mirrors back what we are. And so I offer this to you as a resetting. I'm hearing very clearly now within me, as a resetting for you, and for any soul listening, to go out into the mother, into nature, in a place that's comfortable, in a place that's safe. You could even go in your backyard if that's comfortable. It's really hot here, but or you can, if you have pets and you love them, allow yourself to sit down in a comfortable place, close your eyes, and just
Yeah.
pet them, and let yourself get lost in that space. That's a healing exchange of energy. You know, when cats purr, that's healing energy. That's healing for you. You know,
Definitely.
it's love. You know, I'm seeing somebody having a fishbowl. You got a fishbowl. Allow yourself to stare into the fishbowl and watch the fish move, and
Bake out, and
just allow yourself to be immersed in
yep,
spaces with the mother,
absolutely.
and allow that energy to infiltrate and infect, is what I'm hearing, and permeate the places within you that are unrest. You can even listen to, you could even be on YouTube and you can be listening to the rainfall and nature sounds, and just close your eyes and
Yeah.
immerse.
Yeah, Carol and
All
I both do that. The rain, yeah, listen to the rain, listen to
yes,
the rain, absolutely, grocery store
healing
music from the
stuff.
'70s. Yeah,
Oh, the other
yeah.
thing I'm going to give this person, Larry, and then I feel like we're supposed to start doing this stuff, but
Yes,
um,
absolutely, right, we're there. Yep.
okay, the other thing I'm getting to give this beautiful soul is the frequencies. Go to YouTube and go to, like we said before, 532, 428. I think you probably need to listen to 417, or
Right.
what are the other
4:30
ones?
it's 4:32 Apostle, yeah, I always but that's me, 4:32
Yeah,
resonates with me too.
there's ones that are about disease and parasites, and
Yeah, I post that one. I should know that, Carolyn, because I post that one a lot when I put in the quantum education series together with those meditate or with those frequencies, and I do that one a lot with the parasites. What the hell one is that? That's I don't
maybe
think it's 963.
369. If you
Mm,
417, 369, go floaty McBoat, go on YouTube, go explore these frequencies, go listen
TikTok has a
to
lot of
the
them too. TikTok.
composition of how they're being presented, but decide which ones, because you are, I offer this, you choose and you resonate with what you choose, but you are energy in that body, and energy is, it's it's sound. I always felt it's sound and light, but it's sound. So if you're going to be listening to sounds, it's a frequency. It's going to affect you tremendously if you let
Big
it.
time. Big time. I
Yes,
used to be a
tremendously.
naysayer about it, and it works. It helps. It helps when you find the
It
right
helps
one
a
for you. Yeah,
lot.
A lot, big
Go
time. Yeah.
find the one
Yeah.
or the ones that really work for you, that you listen to and immediately you're like, you melt. You're like, oh. And
Yeah. Yep.
there's going to be the music, so that's the composition of the music, but below that are the frequencies. And
Yes.
explore that
Everything's
for
50.
yourself and allow that. And here I am, my guides are now wrapping this up now, and allow
Yeah.
that to be the pleasure you give yourself because they can take you places if you allow them. And yes, and that's I'm getting this woo woo
Yeah,
woo
we're
woo right
getting that.
now.
Right, right. Yeah, yeah, and you can message me in private if you want that. I'll go figure out which frequency that is. I've got a ton of them. I could just even send you the one that she's talking about, the parasite one. It's a good one to listen to. Actually, I love
Yeah.
those. Love it. Okay, so Carolyn Lanier Roberts down in San Antonio, Texas. Tell everybody on the where they can find you in the wonderful world of social media. Where can they find Carolyn?
Wow. We're already here. I can't believe it. We just
I
started this podcast.
I feels like
Um,
it. Yes, girl.
My goodness. I'm gonna say thank you for everybody that listened on this podcast of pleasure. We kind of went there many times. We dove in and we came back out. Um, the main thing is that I hope it reached you, and I hope that you received things from it. Um, and then I gave enough examples, and yeah, and then it serves you. So I am Carolyn Lanier Roberts on Facebook, and I am allowing the light. Um, my mission business is allowing the light. And just as I said earlier in the podcast, so my mission is to be a reawakener of the conversation of the heart, which is the conversation between the sacred mind, sacred heart, body, vehicle, voice of the soul. And my whole point is to point all souls as they resonate and as they choose and allow back to themselves for their truth, beauty, and grace, and to assist them into connecting with this ancient power that is within them, within every soul, because they are divine beings, expressions of light. I offer soul sessions where I assist in connecting you with that. They're very individual, each one. I also connect with what many call the Akash. I call it within myself the library of the heart, because I am less concerned about what you are in those timelines, and I'm more concerned about how you felt, what your emotions were, because those are energy that carry through from that moment, that time into now, and they shape reality far more than many people realize. I also work with you and your higher self, and in that joint conversation, if there's other personal things that you want to work with, I help connect you to those too. I'm a pure channel, and then Larry, I'm gonna define channeling for
Go
you
for
and
it.
I both. So in this
Absolutely.
podcast, and I know others exist, but we're only speaking from this one. Larry and I both channel, and so we go back and forth, and channeling is basically it's when you're receiving these pulses of energy and your pineal gland within your brain in the center is receiving them and interpreting them, and then they go through your being, so you interpret them. I say I hear, I think he says I hear, I don't know, but truly with channeling, you don't hear, you're receiving these, but it seems like you do, but it's an energy within you that you are
Yeah.
interpreting through your being, and that is channeling.
Yeah.
Let's see, I'm present on YouTube as Carolyn Lanier Roberts,
And
and
alone.
allowing the light on YouTube is it just allowing the light?
I think so. I think the ones with the underscore are on that I've seen are
There it
on
is. Yeah.
Instagram, right? Okay.
My newer one, I have two channels on YouTube. Allowing the Light is my newer YouTube, but my old one's Carolyn Lanier Roberts. Okay, and I'm on Instagram as Allowing the Light with underscores between each word. And then I have an Etsy
Mhm.
store where I offer my light language infused blessing picks, which are photography and joy doodles that are blank cards, And that's on my Etsy store, which is Allowing the Light, which you can find in the search immediately. Yay! Um, and I
Thumbs
think
up.
that's it. Floaty, McBoat, and anybody else listening in this or any now, I really pray that this serves you. Pick apart what works for you. And I am so grateful for your time and attention, because all that exists is this present moment, and you've given it to me. So you've given me so much. Thank you so much, and blessings. Yay!
Wow,
Larry.
that's a really tough act. Really, that is a tough act to follow. I'm telling you right now, that is a tough act to follow. So I'm just going to say this. Look, she's only on a few places. It'll be more soon, maybe, but I am on, look, because of the brand, I'm on every social media platform you can imagine. So if you're wondering if I'm on a particular one, just type in Larry Locken, one word channel. My last name is Locken, not IN. So that I say that because that leads to the next place you can find me. You can find anything I've ever done or anything I ever do on a Facebook page called Rockin, Rocken, not IN, Rockin Larry Locken social media outlets. Okay. Rockin Larry Locken, both with an E, social media outlets. And that will tell you the 5 YouTube channels I have, where I'm at on TikTok, hip hop, bit bop, and all that stuff. And it don't stop, Instagram, Telegram, everything, I don't really use Telegram a lot, but all of them. I think SunCloud is the major one I'm not on, but every other one I'm on. Okay. So sometimes I have surnames with it, another nickname, but it's always you can find by going to the Larry Locken channel, one word. Okay. And go to Rockin' Larry Locken social media outlets and just scroll down the list. And that's where I'm at, where I could be, where I might be, all in one now moment, but multidimensionally everywhere. So that's about it. Carolyn, is anything any last bit of wisdom before we wrap it up here? Or turn it off, shut it down?
No, wow. Thank you. Thank you for anybody that serves. It's always an honor. It's always a blessing. I'm always,
Okay, well, yep.
yeah.
Tune in next week. Tune in next week on Thursday. And by the way, tomorrow I'll be the big 5-0. Happy birthday to me.
Right.
Yay.
Thank you, Larry. I totally
Carolyn's
forgot.
last week. You got 2
Tomorrow,
Leos coming
Larry's
at you.
birthday, everybody.
Yay, the big 5, the big 5. Oh, if you can't see that live, if you're on TikTok or any of the others, yeah. Well, anyway, so for Carolyn and Roberts down in the big state of Texas, deep in the heart of Texas, which he literally is in San Antonio, I'm Rockin' Larry Locken from the Oregon coast. And with that, we're going to wish everybody a big dating game kiss. Mwah. Okay, and we're going to say goodbye to Instagram, which Instagram, we have to say real quick, Instagram, we won't be on there very much longer because they're going to change their requirements to who can do broadcasting on their live. So we'll still put the replay of it on there. But Instagram, you're going to be going bye-bye. And actually, Instagram should be retiring into the senior citizen home anytime soon anyway.
Oh, Larry.
Okay, bye-bye Instagram. And bye-bye to Facebook Live, and bye-bye to TikTok, hip hop, bit bop. Carolyn, one day I'm going to learn how to close out of all these. Yeah, okay, there. And okay, goodbye, YouTube, and we're out. Carolyn, I'll be right with you.
Bye. I'll talk to you then. Okay, bye.
Bye. If I can X out, okay, bye. Keep waving, Carolyn, keep waving and act like you're talking until the credits roll. Okay, and okay, there.